10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast, episode 364. Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 364 of the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. So happy to have you back. And if you're new to the show, welcome in. So happy to have you here. So we're going to continue our series on tune-based learning using, of course, the great composition Donna Lee and looking at some etudes, looking at some different approaches from our upcoming book, 10 Progressive Etudes on Donna Lee. So the first two episodes were the first two etudes in the book, one based off of horizontal, the other based off of vertical. Now we're going to jump ahead a little bit. We're going to jump to the fourth etude, and we're going to look at enclosures and approaches. That's what this etude is all about. So we're going to kind of get our bebop on in this one. Before we jump into the show, just a quick reminder, this is a listener-supported podcast. We rely on people just like you to support us in the form of a small monthly donation. And in return for that donation, you do get a PDF and audio examples and all sorts of great jazz education materials for a very, very small amount of money every month. You can find out more about supporting us by going over to our website, 10minutejazzlesson.com, clicking on one of the Patreon banners, or going to patreon.com and searching for the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Podcast. And of course, as I've been mentioning this month, 4 out of the 10 etudes that are in the book are going to be available to Patreon members for no extra charge, just that monthly donation. Also, we are going to be releasing the full ebook tomorrow, June 17th, and we're going to give a huge discount to the Patreon members. So it's never been a better time to join up and become a patron of the podcast than right now. And all those details will be in the site once you become a patron. So again, 10minutejazzlesson.com or patreon.com, and you can get all of the details there. All right, so here we go again. Now, if you've been actually doing some of this stuff with Donna Lee for the past 2 weeks, you should really start seeing results over this chord progression. Just the act of coming back to it every single day for an extended period of time should be making you insanely comfortable with this chord progression. And if you're one of those few people that's willing to do it for the entire month, you are going to see an incredible payoff over this tune. If you go out and you play this at a jam session or on a gig, you're going to feel more comfortable than you have ever felt over this progression. Not because of the stuff that I'm showing you, but because of the fact that you are coming back to it and you are thinking about this chord progression and you're trying different things over it and you're practicing these different concepts day in and day out. I promise you that will be the case if you keep doing this. So this week, we're going to take a look at approach notes and enclosures. Now, most of you know what this is. An approach note would simply be taking an important note of the chord and approaching it, either by one note or 2 notes. So let's do a couple of examples of approach notes. So if I took a concert C7 chord and I picked a note of the chord, so let's say I'm going to pick the 3rd, all right? So E over concert C7. And let's try a 1-note approach. So I'm simply going to go chromatically below that E and then come into it. And that would be a single note chromatic approach to that E. Now, what if I did that for every chord tone, 1, 3, 5, and 7 over that C7 chord? Pretty interesting, right? So this is a chromatic approach to the root, to the 3rd, to the 5th, to the 7th, and then to the root again. Okay, so that's a single note chromatic approach. What if we did a double approach? So now we're going to start a whole step below whatever our target note is, and we're going to play a whole step, half step, target note. So let's do that on the 3rd. So this time I'm going to start on a D and go chromatically up to E. Let's do that to the 5th. Let's do it to the root. You can see that sounds really cool. That sounds like a lot of the stuff you've heard before. Really nice sound there. Okay, so that would be an example of a double approach. Okay, so now let's talk about enclosures. So enclosures are just another form of approach notes, but now we're going to think above and below the target note so that we are enclosing it. So what if we did chromatic from above, then chromatic from below, then target note? Let's go to that same note, a third over a C7 chord. So now we're going to play F, followed by D sharp, followed by E. And that would be a really simple form of an enclosure. Chromatic above, chromatic below. Let's do that on the fifth. How about the root? That's a sound that we hear all the time in bebop and actually every form of jazz. Okay, let's do something else. Let's do diatonic from above, chromatic from below. So on the E, it's going to turn out to be the exact same notes. But on the fifth, it's going to be A natural to F sharp to G. And on the root, it'll be D natural to B natural to C. So that totally changes the sound. Okay, so there's just another form of an enclosure. Now let's do a 4-note enclosure, which is really kind of tricky. So we'll do double diatonic from above to double chromatic from below. So on the third, that would be G, F, diatonic, to double chromatic from below, D to D sharp to E. Let's do that on the fifth. So it would be B flat, A, F, F sharp, G. So isn't that kind of nice? You could do a lot with these ideas. You could play short enclosures like 2-note enclosures. You could go all the way up to 4-note enclosures. And that's what this etude is all about. You're going to have to do a little bit of hard work in this etude, and you're going to have to go through and figure out where all the enclosures are. But that study of finding them and then playing the etude so that you can actually hear them is going to do wonders for your playing. And again, what this should be is just some inspiration to go and work on this in the practice room. It should be considered just a really good example of what enclosures sound like. So maybe some possibilities of how to employ them. Maybe this is your first introduction to enclosures, period. So this would be a great way to learn what they are and see how they're actually used in the context of a tune. All right, so let's jump into the etude. This one is all about approach notes and enclosures. All right, so there you have it. There's our approach note and enclosure etude, etude number 4 in the ebook. Again, we are going to be releasing that tomorrow, and the Patreon members, look out for a post because you will get a big discount on that book. All right, we'll see you next week with the final installment, the 4th etude that we're going to go over this month. I hope this was of some benefit to you. Remember, keep working on Donna Lee. Really commit yourself to the month of working on it just about each and every day, and you will see those results start to fly in. Hope you're all doing well out there, staying safe and healthy. Remember, you can get access to the etude by going over to our Patreon and signing up to become a supporter today. Thank you to everybody over there. We have over 350 people supporting us each and every month, and y'all mean the world to me. We could not do this show without you. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.